In the first light of dawn, when the world was still quiet and half asleep, 35-year-old Ayan found himself standing on the rooftop of his apartment building, staring at a sky that looked far more alive than he felt. The wind tugged at his shirt as if urging him to breathe deeper, but his chest only tightened. His heart pounded in a rhythm that never felt quite right anymore, a painful reminder of how far he'd drifted from the person he once wanted to become. He had gained weight, lost energy, and buried himself under years of stress, exhaustion, and silent battles. It wasn't just his body that felt heavy, his spirit, too, had faded into a dull, grey routine. And that morning, as he watched the sun slowly rise, painting everything gold, Ayan wondered whether it was too late to save himself, whether a life so worn down could ever feel whole again. If you believe in kindness, in second chances, and in the possibility of change no matter how lost someone feels, please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe. It lets us know you're with us in stories that speak to the heart. Ayan had spent years sinking into habits that eroded him bit by bit. A demanding office job, late-night fast food, endless scrolling on his phone to numb his thoughts, skipping annual checkups because he didn't have time. But the truth was that he had been avoiding himself. His father's sudden death from a heart condition had left a crack in him years ago, a crack he never knew how to mend. At first, he tried to be strong, throwing himself into work, but grief slowly hollowed his motivation, turning it into apathy. Life became mechanical: wake up tired, go to work tired, return home tired, sleep tired, and repeat. He thought he was functioning, surviving, pushing forward. But inside, his body and mind were quietly calling out for help. One evening, after another exhausting day, Ayan climbed the stairs to his apartment and stopped halfway, leaning against the railing, panting. His vision blurred for a moment. His pulse hammered. Sweat trickled down his neck even though it was a cool night. He waited for the dizziness to pass, feeling a frightening weight press on his chest. When he finally reached his door, unlocking it with trembling fingers, he felt a strange sense of dread. Something was wrong, deeply wrong, but he shoved the thought away and collapsed onto the couch. He woke up hours later, the TV flashing random commercials, his heart still beating too fast. His body felt like it was pleading with him to change, but the idea of truly starting felt overwhelming. Where does someone even begin to rebuild a life? He didn't know. The turning point came unexpectedly. One Saturday morning, as he sorted through old boxes, looking for a charger he'd misplaced, he stumbled across a dusty notebook, the one his father used to keep. Inside were worn, handwritten notes, reminders to eat well, daily blood pressure logs, small goals like walk 15 minutes today, and inspirational lines scribbled in the margins. One page caught Ayan's attention, a message his father had written years ago, meant for himself, but somehow finding its way to his son at the right moment. Your health is your story. Write it with intention before the world writes it for you. Ayan felt something tighten in his throat. When he closed his eyes, he could almost hear his father's calm voice, the way he always spoke with quiet wisdom. That simple line pierced through the fog that had clouded Ayan's mind for years. He realized then how much he had forgotten the value of being alive, the gift of waking up in a body that still had the potential to heal. And for the first time in years, he felt a spark of determination, a small, fragile spark, but real. He spent that afternoon researching healthy living, not the extreme transformations that social media pushed, but the simple, sustainable ones. Drinking water regularly, eating real meals instead of skipping them, walking instead of collapsing on the couch, sleeping with intention instead of passing out from exhaustion. The more he read, the more hopeful he felt. Maybe a healthy life wasn't about becoming someone new overnight, but slowly uncovering the person he had always meant to be. The next morning, Ayan stepped outside with his father's notebook in his pocket, and began with a slow walk. The world around him felt different, though of course it was the same. Children played in the park, birds hopped along the sidewalks. An elderly couple walked hand in hand. The breeze carried the scent of freshly watered plants. Ayan's heart beat faster from the effort, and at moments it scared him, but he kept going. Every step felt like a promise whispered to the universe, a quiet declaration that he wasn't giving up. He came home tired, but proud. And that night, instead of staying up late scrolling on his phone, he made a simple meal and slept early. It didn't cure everything, but it felt like the gentle beginning of something. Weeks passed. His walks became longer. He started trying short workout videos at home. He replaced soda with water, fast food with healthier homemade meals. He slowly untangled himself from stress by journaling, meditating, breathing deeply during moments of anxiety. These weren't dramatic changes, but consistent ones, and consistency began to weave strength into his days. Some mornings he woke up energized. Other mornings he felt hopeless again. There were nights when he slipped and ate junk food. Days when he skipped exercise, moments when self-doubt dragged him backward. But each time he faltered, he reminded himself of the notebook, of his father, of the life he deserved. One afternoon, after a particularly hard week at work, Ayan felt the old heaviness creeping back. His mind was restless. His heart felt tight. He was tempted to ignore everything and fall into old habits, but something inside him refused to surrender. He grabbed the notebook and went to the rooftop. As he stood there watching the city shift beneath the evening sky, he reflected on how far he had come. He wasn't perfect, but he was truly trying for the first time in years, and that effort alone made him feel like he belonged to himself again. The wind brushed past him, soft and reassuring, as if the world was telling him he was going to be okay. Gradually, Ayan's life transformed in ways he hadn't expected. His face looked brighter, his posture straighter, his breath steadier. He began to enjoy mornings instead of dreading them. His co-workers noticed he seemed more alert, more present. His family noticed he laughed more, a real laugh, not the hollow one he used to force. His nights became peaceful. His days became meaningful. The more he nurtured his body, the more his mind blossomed. Healthy living wasn't only about exercise or food. It was about choosing yourself every single day, even when it felt impossible. It was about healing wounds from the past, forgiving yourself for the years you lost, and believing that the future still held promise. Ayan learned to love slow mornings with warm tea. He cherished his evening walks where the fading sunlight made everything glow. He enjoyed cooking simple, nourishing meals while music played in the background. He read books, rediscovered hobbies, and felt alive in moments he once overlooked. But the most powerful shift came from within. His heart, once burdened by grief and stress, grew stronger physically and emotionally. He began accepting that his father was gone, but that his father's wisdom remained, guiding him quietly through every decision. The notebook became more than a relic. It became a companion, carrying the essence of both loss and hope. Months later, on a crisp morning filled with gentle golden light, Ayan returned to the rooftop, the same place where his story had begun. Only this time, he didn't stare at the sunrise wondering whether life would change. He watched it with gratitude, knowing he had changed it himself. The fear that once clung to him had softened. His breathing felt easier, his heart beat in a calmer rhythm, and the sky above him looked just as beautiful as it had months ago. Except now he felt worthy of its beauty. If this story touched your heart in any way, if it reminded you that healing is possible and that your health, your life is worth fighting for, please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your support helps us continue sharing stories that matter. Before this story comes to an end, I have one special request. Please comment below what part of Ayan's journey you connected with the most. Ayan's life didn't become perfect. No life ever does. But he learned to live with intention, to honor his body, to respect his emotions, and to embrace healthier choices not as punishments but as gifts. He understood that a healthy lifestyle wasn't a destination, it was a lifelong story, written day by day, with setbacks and victories intertwined like threads in a tapestry. And in one quiet moment on the rooftop, he realized something profound. His father's words weren't just a message, they were a lesson. Your health is your story. And he was finally writing his with care, courage, and love. The city buzzed below him as the morning grew brighter. Ayan closed his eyes, breathed in deeply, and smiled softly, peacefully, with a heart that felt whole again. And in that moment, he knew he had given himself the ultimate guide to living a healthy lifestyle. Gratitude for the past, strength in the present, and hope for all the days still coming. He stepped away from the edge of the rooftop and walked back toward the life he was building, one filled with purpose, balance, and a newfound love for simply being alive. And as the sun continued to rise, he understood that this wasn't the end of his journey. It was just the beginning of a life he had finally chosen to live.